Hi folks, I'm Professor Blowers, and today we'll be working on Excel 4G Aquatics. In this project, we're helping out Lindsay Johnson, who's the Director of Pools and Recreation, in creating and modifying a pivot table report and a pivot chart report to analyze revenue and expenses from the Aquatics program. So without any further ado, let's open up the file. So for 0 points, we'll go ahead and select all of this and highlight it so that we know that we've done it. All right, so step number two. So we'll start in cell A2, that's alpha 2. So what you do on step number 2 is first click into cell A2 and then go to the Insert tab. From the Insert tab over on the Tables group, click on Recommended Pivot Tables. And then in the bottom left, you'll see a button called Blank Pivot Table. Go ahead and click that. That'll open this up right here, okay? So now it's a matter of which fields do we drag where. And I also want you to pay attention to the grid. So as we drag each down, we want to bring the month table. So click and drag month down to the filters area. Click and drag item to the columns area. We'll put pool down in the rows area. And we'll put amount down in the values area. And you'll notice it builds this table right here, which is really handy for making business decisions, right? And so this is how you create a pivot table. Mac users, it's a little bit different, so please take note of that. But what it does is it takes all of this information here, which is a bit disorganized, it's muddled, it's just a bunch of numbers and words. And so it takes this aquatics revenue and it puts it into a table so people can make financial decisions so that this pool department maximizes their revenue. So now that we finished step 2, go ahead and highlight your Word document and make sure that we know that we've earned those points. And we'll move on to step number 3. All right, so we need to format the values in our pivot table. So we'll go back to our Excel document. Highlight cells B5, that's Bravo 5, down through H11, that's Hockey 11. Click on the Home tab, and then in the number group, click this little dialog box. Click on the number button right here, and we need to put the decimal places down to 0, 1, 2, and then click on Use 1000 Separator. Press OK and have a look. Now it's not a big change, but what you will notice is that these larger numbers, like down in cell H11, 167,648, it makes it more visual and people are then able to make better, more informed decisions using Excel. And we're on to step number 4, and it's time to insert some slicers. So I'm going to show you something. Click on the Home tab, click off of the Excel, click off of the pivot table. What I want you to do is then click into the pivot table and notice up at the top, these 2 tabs are now available. Pivot table Analyze and Design. So go ahead with cell, let's say E7, Echo 7 selected. Click on the Pivot Table Analyze tab, and down in the filter group, I'd like you to click Insert Slicer. And so we need to select Pool and Item. And be sure to click in here, because I did not. And what's interesting about slicers is it allows you to further dive into this information and get more relevant data so that you can again make important business decisions. So once you've selected pool and item, go ahead and click OK. There's our slicers, but get out of the way, slicers. What are you doing here? So it's okay, just up in this upper area, using this cursor, click and drag item and click and drag pool so that you can still see the data, all right? So from here, we're gonna filter even further by Tropics Pool. So go ahead and click on Tropics Pool and notice how the pivot table changes. Then over on Item, we're going to click on Spa Fees. All right, so now have a look at the data and notice what has changed. And so to wrap up step number 4, I know I told you to move those down here, but if you want the points, go ahead and select Pool, and we're gonna move it right about here in the corner of E3, that's Echo 3, and then Item, we're gonna scoot it right next to it, all right? So right about in here, so that the upper left corner is positioned as such. All right, so now we need to move it and make a copy. So once we've done that, down here on sheet 1, go ahead and right click and then scroll up to the Move or Copy button. And then down below, you'll see this button here. It says Create a Copy. Go ahead and press OK. And it says Sheet 1, and then in parentheses 2. What you want to do is right-click, and then click on Rename. And the name of it is Tropics, space, Pool, capitalized. And that's how you rename that sheet, Tropics Pool. And as you click back and forth, you'll notice that that's a copy. Now step number 5, we need to clear the filters from the slicer, remove the slicers from the worksheet, and then rename the worksheet. So as I click to Excel, you'll notice that there's a filter button. It kind of looks like a funnel. You could press Alt-C, that's a handy tip, or just click this button right here. And again, notice how your pivot table changes as you clear the filters by clicking the filter button. So clear both filters. And now these slicers are in the way. Well, let's get rid of them. We don't need them anymore. So click and go ahead, press the delete button, click Pool, press the delete button, go ahead and click on Sheet 1, scroll up to rename it, and we'll be calling this 2Q Revenue. And just like that, we can highlight that we're done with step number 5, earn 5 points, and we'll move on to step number 6, which is also worth 5 points. Now for step number 6, you need to be sure that you are inside of the pivot table, so go ahead and click in here. What you want to do is go to the Insert tab, and then on the Charts group, go ahead and click on Pivot Chart, and then click Pivot Chart once more. We need to do a chart called Stack Column, which is the second one right here. Go ahead and click OK afterwards, and notice that this new chart is inserted, but it's also blocking our data. Get out of here! How about we move this to another location? So let's go to the, let me have a look around, Actions group. You're gonna press the Move Chart button, move it to a new sheet, and we're going to name this new sheet 2Q Revenue Chart. Press OK, and notice how that is moved to a new sheet. The tab is named correctly. Let's go back to the instructions and notice we've done everything for step number 6. Now for step number 7, you'll notice that we're going to apply layout 3. That's a chart layout. So what you want to do is, you're still on the 2Q revenue chart. And so click on the design tab, and then you'll see in the chart layouts group, click on quick layout, hover over here, that's layout 3. Excellent, go ahead and click that. Next, what you want to do is add data labels, which helps us visualize our data with numbers on it. So click this plus button, which is our chart elements button. Scroll down and click on data labels and notice the changes that were made. Next, you'll notice a drop down for month and sum of amount. You can click over either of them, right click over either of them. What you want to do is click on hide report filter buttons on chart. All right. And let me see here, we've got sum of amount. Hide all field buttons on chart. So let's go back to the instructions, make sure that we've got that right. Hide all the field buttons. So you'll notice what I did. You can do one at a time, or you can do both by hiding all of them. And for the chart title, we're gonna call it Second Quarter Aquatics Program Revenue. Perfect. Let's go ahead and insert that custom footer. So what we wanna do is on the Page Layout tab in the Page Setup group, you'll see this little dialog box right here. Click on Page Setup, click the Header Footer tab, and then click on Custom Footer right here. On the left section, we want to include the file name, which is this button right here. You hover over it and it'll tell you what it is, which I think is incredibly handy in Excel. Insert that file name in the left section, press OK once more. So let's add a new worksheet to the workbook. So right down here, you'll see this plus button. Go ahead and just press it once. There we are. Now it's time to import some data from Microsoft Access, which is a great database management program. Check it out sometime. That's Microsoft Access. Very similar to SQL. So what you want to do once you have your new sheet, click on the Data tab, and on the left-hand side, we've got that. Click on the Get Data button in the Get and Transform Data group. And we're going to do it from a database, and it says from a Microsoft Access database. Now it's time to find where we downloaded the files. There it is right there, .accdb. I'll go ahead and click it, import it, and that'll bring up this box right here as it connects. Bear with me just a second while they establish a connection. And what you want to do here is select multiple items. So click this button right here, and then click Suppliers, and click Supply Order Summary. And it's taken a bit to evaluate the preview, that's all right. Down here, check out the Load button. Click right here, and then click on Load. And that'll open up this pivot table fields area over here, queries, connections. It'll take a while to load the data. And so to insert a pivot table, we'll go to the Insert tab up at the top, click that, and then in the Tables group, click on Pivot Table, and then click on Pivot Table once more. Make sure that Use This Workbook's data model is selected, as well as the existing worksheet is selected. That should be defaulted. Go ahead and press OK. Then, over on the right-hand side, let's make sure that we open up Suppliers. Scroll down, let's open up the Supply Order Summary. And just like we did before, let's drag the fields down to the areas below. So we are going to put Supplier, click and drag down to columns. Like last time, notice the changes. We're going to put Item in rows. So let's see here, we're looking for Item. That's in the Supply Order Summary group. Click on Item, drag that down to rows. And in values, we're going to be placing the sum of quantity, or as it says here, quantity. So click quantity, drag it down to values, and there you go. So now what we want to do is select the range B3, Bravo 3, down through G12, Grandma 12, Gamma 12, you tell me. And we're actually on to step 10. So select this range right here, Bravo 3 through Gamma 12. Go ahead and click on the Home tab, and in the Numbers group, click on this dialog box. Click on Number as we did before. We want 0 decimal places. Click on Use 1000 Separator. Press OK. Not much of a change, but that's step number 10. For step 11, we're meant to insert a new row. So go ahead, you're welcome to click off that range. And right above the 1 right here on the top left, what you want to do is get this cursor, it's a black arrow pointing to the right, and then right click on top of that. And what you want to do now is click the Insert button, and that'll insert a new row right here. Then in cell A1, that's alpha 1, we're going to type Aquatics, Programs, Purchases. Excellent. And then we want to apply the Title 1 style. So again, we're in the Home tab, over in the, let's see here, Cell Styles group. We're gonna look down for the one that's called Title. Excellent, go ahead and click that. You can right click, hover up to rename, and we will call it Aquatics Purchases. Be sure that you click inside of the pivot table, and I'm here on Charlie 7, cell C7. What you want to do is go to the Insert tab, and over in your Charts group, you're going to look for the Pivot Chart button, which is here, and then once more click on Pivot Chart. We're looking for a 3D pie, so let's click on the Pie button, and then right here is our 3D pie. Then just click OK. We'll get a move on. Swell, but there we go again, you're blocking my data. Get on out of here now. So what we need to do is follow the same steps that we did last time to move this to a new sheet. And so what you'll find is, let me have a look around. We're still on the Pivot Chart Analyze tab, which is only active when we have the pivot chart selected. Now what you need to do is in the Actions group, you click on Move Chart. We'll move it to a new sheet called Aquatic Suppliers Chart. Aquatic Suppliers Chart. And then be sure to press OK to make sure that it actually goes onto its own tab, which is great. You'll have the pivot chart fields over on the right hand side. That should start looking familiar. And so here's what you do next. Now step 13 is pretty quick, right? And so what you want to do is take from the Legend Series area, click and drag that over to the Axis area. And notice how that makes a change. You got a lot more different slices of pie, different colors, but we do not need the item category anymore. So go ahead and click, and you're welcome to remove the field, and notice the changes that are made. Isn't that great? Let's remove the legend, all right? So again, we've got our Chart Elements button right up here, and we'll go between steps 13 and 14. So click on Chart Elements. We're going to uncheck Legend. Then on Data Labels, go ahead and click on this drop down right here. and we'll go down to more options. Click more options. Now, the only things that we want shown here are the category name and the percentage. So go ahead, click category name, unclick value, click on percentage, and unclick show leader line so that it looks as such. Now what we want to do is in the label position on the bottom right corner of our Format Data Labels panel, click on center. That looks great. And then we need to change the font size to 11. So go ahead at the top, go ahead and click your home tab. Notice the font size is set to 9. You're welcome to go ahead, scroll down, 11, and make sure that you've got the rotation handles around all of these. Otherwise, it will not apply the 11 font size to everything. So be sure to do that. Now for step number 15, let's go ahead and change the title. So click in here where it says total and replace that with aquatic supply purchases. And then we're going to change the font size of that to 24. 24 as such. Oh, let's make sure that we have that selected. So Control A, font size to 24. Splendid. We also want to make sure that this is hidden. So right click over sum of quantity. And then we want to hide all field buttons on the chart. Splendid, and there they go. Now we need to add a footer. I want to make sure where. And also note that we finished step 13 and 14, footer with the file name in the left section. Perfect, well we've been there before, so let's go to the page layout tab. And let me have a look really quick. In the page setup group, click on this button right here, the page setup dialog box. Click over on the header footer tab, and we'll do custom footer. On the left-hand section, we want the file name. There it is right there. It looks like an Excel spreadsheet. Click it, press OK. Press OK once more. And last, we have finished step number 15. Well done. Now, step number 16 is asking us to go ahead, and you may have to scroll over, but you need to hide the Aquatics revenue sheet right down here. So right click over it and press hide. Don't worry, it hasn't gone anywhere, it's just hiding. So now what you need to do is select just a handful of them, okay? So click on Tropics Pool, then press Control, click on Aquatics Purchases, and 2Q Revenue, and make sure you do not have 2Q Revenue Chart and Aquatic Suppliers Chart selected, because we need to insert a footer just for those, okay? And so with all that selected, Page Layout tab, Page Setup Group, click this button right here, click on Header Footer, and we'll do a custom footer. On the left side, we're going to put in the file name, just like this, just like we've learned how to do. Excellent. Press OK. Then what you want to do is click on the Margins tab, and we want to center on the page horizontally. Perfect. Click over here on Page, and we want to set it to Landscape. There we are. And then we want to make sure that we fit to 1 page wide by 1 tall, so it fits on 1 page. Now we need to deselect all of these while I let Excel think. Right click, and we will go to, bear with me, Ungroup Sheets. Perfect, then you can click out into there. We're gonna go to our properties, so go ahead and click on File. And from here, we're gonna go to Info. And you'll see your properties on the right-hand side. Let's show all properties. And then under, let's see here, it would be Tags, Aquatic Revenue Supplies. So let's go down to Tags, type in Aquatic Revenue, comma, Supplies. Let's see here, it was Subject. We'll call it BTS 165. Put in whatever class that you're taking. Perfect, there's my name right there. We finished step number 17. Be sure to save your workbook. Highlight step number 17. We're gonna save the file, close it, and we will upload it for grading. So press save. Perfect. And let's go ahead and upload it and see what score we got. We need to submit it for grading. So there's our file right here, Student Excel 4G Aquatics. Now let's go ahead, go online to MyLabIT. We've already downloaded the materials, we worked on the assignment. Now we need to upload the assignment to the computer. And I put it on the desktop, so let me go ahead and scroll up. I'll go to this PC actually, I've got this organized differently than my other computers. And from the desktop, 4G Aquatics, you need to press the upload button here, wait for it to get to 100%, and then wait a little longer. Yep, perfect, success, ready to submit. Then you need to press the button to submit it for grading. You're welcome then to close the assignment and wait for this to refresh. and it'll give us a score. So we earned a 94.3%. If you click on these 3 buttons here and then view submissions, we can see which mistakes we made and then go back and resubmit to get a higher grade. So then click right in here. I'm very curious which problems I had in my file. So step 2 is all right. As I scroll down, we got 4, 5, 6, 7. Looks like I started strong, but it looks like here on step number 12, I made a mistake. And so it looks like aquatic supplies chart, it was not set to aquatic supplies chart. All right, I'll have to double check that. And then it looks like the sheet location was not set to that. So I can go back and get some points back. Let me know in the comments where I made that mistake so I can make a note of that and go back and fix it. And then another mistake right here, step number 14. You may have noticed that in the Pi 3D pivot chart, the style was not set as per the instruction. So I didn't choose the correct style, but what I can do is go back, make edits to this, have a look at my 3D Pi, and see what I need to do to improve it to get 100%, right? So that's our assignment. I appreciate all of your work. We can go ahead, step number 18, select it, highlight it, and just like that, you've completed Grader 4 for Aquatics. I'm really, really happy that we worked on that together. I'll see you next time for the next Walkabout. And this is Professor Blowers signing out.